Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary for the day of 301 to 303 for the 21st to 23rd of December for the Ukraine war, or to the Russians, the special military operation in Ukraine. So sorry for missing out 2 days, 3 days of reporting, going all the way together. Is very crazy. I almost died updating this map for 3 days straight. So yeah, so hang on for a long ride. So move on to the first thing. There is major news in terms of USA will now transfer Patriot surface-to-air missiles to Ukraine. So however, the thing about the Patriot is that they only are giving them one battery. So one battery is only around between 4 to 8 launches, each with 4 missiles. I'm quite sure they'll give them more than just 4 missiles each. However, this Patriot system is not new, and it wouldn't have the ability to take down the Gremlin 2 or Gram 2 drones. So let's see what it can do. It's probably most likely to be used for against cruise missiles, but only one battery. So not sure where they want to place it. Most likely they will just put it in Kiev. And then Zelensky is in the United States. He visited the US president and the US Congress, and they have gave him $1 billion US the military assistance package. Basically, it's just a Christmas present for them. So within this $1 billion, there is actually the Patriot system, which I already mentioned, ammunition for HIMARS. Then they have 500 high precision projectiles for the 155 artillery. Doesn't sound like a lot. Then there will be 10 120 millimeter mortar, 10,000 120 bombs. This is not mines actually. This is actually the bomb. So they have the 10 mortar with 10,000 rounds. So then 10 82 mortar, 10 60 blah 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 blah. There's no tanks here. There's 120 what is this called? The jeep. What is the jeep called? It got out of my mind. So basically the 120 jeeps, and there is no tanks within here. And MRAPs is not exactly an armored vehicle per se. It's more like a troop carrier that is heavily armored and defense against IEDs. So the kind of stuff they are giving Ukraine is kind of just asking them to die. In my opinion, it's not. It's just artillery. The main key points is just artillery. They have 45,000 rounds of 152 20,000 122 50,000 rockets for their BM-21 Grets. So there is some other stuff that is actually mainly artillery focused. In terms of ground offensive, with all this is just suicide for most cases. So US, if they really want to help, they should really give them tanks. And there is also a separate information from War Monitors. They claim that Pentagon has listed the Wagner Group in Ukraine to have 50,000 troops. And in these 50,000 troops, 10,000 were contractors, with 40,000 are prisoners that they recruited from the prisons to operate along with the contractors. So 50,000 Wagner force. So interesting number. And moving on to the southern front, yesterday there is drone attacks are reported towards Crimea, and there is an interception of these drones. None of the drones broke through the air defense. And the interesting thing about this drone attack on Crimea yesterday was that for the first time the US drones, civilian drones, did not take off. So the pro-Russian sources or analysts or OSIN, they analyze, or they feel that this is to do a surprise attack, because every time the US drones fly into the Black Sea, the Russians are alerted into being ready for an attack from the Ukrainian side. So this time around, the surveillance drones or radar planes did not appear, but the Ukrainian drones appeared. But somehow the Russian air defense are still ready for them. So a bit disappointing for the Ukrainian side. On the 20th, so this is 20th is actually before the dates that we are covering today. There's information coming out from the Ukrainian army. They say that they have attacked the airfield in the area of Kakhovka. So this is Kakhovka, and this is Nova Kakhovka. This is actually the crossing. This is the dam across the Dnipro River, along the Kherson, through Kherson. Somewhere around Kakhovka, there is actually a temporary airfield, which the Russians operate. Probably helicopter airfield in a way. And the strike killed 150 people and wounded another 50, and 20 military equipments are reportedly destroyed. So probably this is a HIMARS attack or something. This is I didn't really take notes of this. Only just saw this today as I covering doing the updates. Moving on to the Zaporizhzhia line. At the Zaporizhzhia line, there we have updated the front line due to information of fighting reported at Levadne. Because of fighting at Levadne, where the Ukrainian recon forces was trying to explore this place, that suggests that Ohilske is not under Russian control. This information comes from the Russian Defense Ministry, which is why most likely this is definitely not under Russian control. I referenced the Russian Ministry of Defense mapping. The mapping doesn't seem to suggest that Ohilske is under their control. So I updated the front line accordingly. And there's shelling reported near Novopil, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. And there is fighting reported at Neskrushny on the 23rd, according to Surya maps. So otherwise, that's all from the Zaporizhzhia line. So this line, Zaporizhzhia line, from Kayamske, Orekhiv, Huyaipole, all the way to Velika Novosilka. This is the line. Moving to the Donetsk front. So Donetsk front is actually here on the southern part of the entire eastern front, where now all the fighting is happening. At the Donetsk, southwest of Donetsk, there is a lot of shelling report. All these reports are coming from the Russian Defense Ministry, which suggests that the Russians are not making any major offensive operations around the Voleda region. So this is Voleda. This is Voleda. So within the Voleda region, there is no ground offensive. The Russians probably gave up trying to break through. Maybe the Ukrainian defense are too strong. So they resort to just airstrikes and artillery strikes. Shelling is reported at Preshestivka on the 21st and 23rd. Near Novomayoske, there is shelling reported on the 22nd and 23rd. There is shelling reported on the 22nd on near Mikilske. And also there is 2 shelling reports at Vodian on the 23rd and today. So in the latest report from the Russian Defense Ministry today, they reported shelling near Vodian as well. So it's just shelling reports. Usually I try not to cover, but I just thought that maybe this time around I would just want to include some of this to have some sensing. Sorry, my tongue is not working. I'm too tired updating the map. Of how I have a sense of how the operation on the Russian side is going. The Ukrainians are reported to have appeared around Solotke region, around here. It's the recon forces. So I reported this as an attack. On the Novomahailivka, there is fighting reported on the 22nd, but there is no fighting reported on the 21st or yesterday. So however, there is artillery shelling on the 21st as well. So the Ukrainians are continuing to hold Novomahailivka very strongly. The Russians have totally no way to break through. The front line essentially did not really change much over the past 2 months. The only change was the capture of Perlivka, and that's it. Over at Marinka, fighting is reported on all 3 days, on the 21st all the way through to 23. all reported by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. However, based on information from Sanya, Florida, which is another YouTuber which reports on the Ukraine war using DPA's mapping, but his channel is entirely in Russian. The channel is 10 times bigger than mine, I think. Yeah, or more than that. So anyway, in his Telegram, he reported that based on his exclusive source, they said that the Ukrainians has been pushed out of this entire region, and the very last quarter or last part of Marinka is left under Ukrainian control. His source is the only one that mentioned any Russian breakthrough from the center of Marinka. So I would say take this with a pinch of salt, and because all other sources do report that the fighting is still within the center street, or in the center, including Deep State UA, the pro-Ukrainian source, and so only Sanya, Florida's source mentioned that the fighting has been pushed all the way near to the very end on the southern part of Marinka, because there's another northern part of Marinka. This is the southern part of Marinka. So let's see how this goes, whether this can be corroborated as we go along. Moving on to Krasnohorivka, the Russian forces continue to attack through the fortified locations east of Krasnohorivka town. However, not sure what is the progress exactly is like. In terms of the region, in terms of aircraft getting shot down in the region, there is a MiG-29 shot down over Bahatie, another one, a MiG-29 shot down over Shevchenko. Shevchenko, this one was a bit hard because there's multiple locations called Shevchenko. There's one here, there's one here, and there's another one further up north. So I have to reference the Russian Defense Ministry's video report, and the mapping shows that it's actually here, this Shevchenko. So then there is a helicopter, a Mi-24 shot down over Selidove. This is reported today, and there is also another Sukhoi 27 shot down over Komishivka, also reported today. So these are all from today's report. Moving on to the Pisky region. At the Pisky region, the fighting is reported at Nevelsky on the 21st and 22nd, and at Vodian there is fighting reported on 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. The fighting is still within the town, the village. The Russians have not really captured this location. However, Opinions Nene is definitely captured, and the Russians are actually pushing out. According to Wogonzo, there's fighting near Opine on the 22nd, and on the 23rd, the Ukrainian Defense Ministry reported again that fighting is near Jevene. So this is Jevene. So fighting is reported near or in the area of Jevene. Most likely it's coming from Opine, and this continue to be the situation over at the northeast part of Adivka. There is fighting reported at Kayamka. According to Wogonzo, on the 22nd, they are trying to capture certain part of the highway along Kayamka. Further up north, there is fighting reported at Alexandropil on the 22nd, and according to this Wogonzo report, they said that the Russian forces is attacking in the direction of Alexandropil, towards Alexandropil, which suggests that Alexandropil is under Ukrainian control. And I feel that this information is sufficient enough for me to map it as Ukrainian control, because this area is very underreported, and given how reports coming from this region comes, I have a decent amount of belief that this information is likely to be correct, and that Alexandropil is under Ukrainian control. There is fighting reported near Novoselivka, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, on the 22nd. So this is another one of those rare once in a blue moon, or not really, it's just this on and off kind of thing where there is fighting reported on the southern part of New York City. So previously we have reports of fighting around Yurivka, And so this time around we have a report of fighting at Novoselivska, but it's not reported on the 23rd. So the situation here probably is still very tricky. The Russians did not is not really ready for a sustained offensive against New York. However, we do have a sustained attempt. According to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, on the 21st, 22nd, and 23rd, that there is fighting at New York region. The specific location of the fighting is unclear because the Ukrainian Defense Ministry never specify in details. So currently we are mapping just around here. We have no idea where exactly in the front was the fighting actually happening. There is coming to the north part of the New York, reinforcement is reported at Torex, and there is a Ukrainian Mi-8 shot down over Pivnishny. So otherwise, on the east of Pivnishny, fighting continued to be reported around Mayos or near Mayos on the 21st and on the 22nd. So the fighting here is actually the Russian forces coming from the Mayos village moving towards Druzhba. So this is actually what is happening. So the Russians are encountering a lot of defense or resistance from the Ukrainian side, as we have reported quite a few times that reinforcement have arrived at Torres. So this reinforcement will be here to continue to reinforce the defense of Druzhba. So let's see, did I miss any more aircraft? So in terms of more aircraft shot downs, there is a Mi-8 shot down over Dobropilia, and then there's also a Mi-8 shot down over Hruske. So there's a lot of aircraft getting shot down over 3 days or 4 days. So we can believe or you can don't believe, it's really up to you. There's also another helicopter, another Mi-8 shot down over Kramatorsk. And as usual, I would just want to highlight these helicopters getting shot down so far from the front should be something very concerning for the Ukrainian side. At least 30 to 40 kilometers away. And moving on to the Bakhmut front. At the Bakhmut front, south of Bakhmut, fighting is reported at Ozyarenivka on the 21st and 23rd. And on the 21st, the Russians were fighting near Kodyomivka. However, on the 22nd and 23rd, the tide have turned. It is the Ukrainians that is doing the offensive. Reportedly by Ryba, they say that the counter attack by the Ukrainians in the region of Kodyomivka is to actually distract the Russians away from the fighting at Bakhmut. I would say most likely not, but at least they definitely do try to put some concern for the Russian side to maybe reinforce a bit more, because I don't think the Ukrainians would think that the Russians have a lack of manpower, because the Russian forces have more manpower nowadays. So this kind of diversionary attack is unlikely to draw Russian forces away from the major fighting over at the Bakhmut city. According to Surya Maps, they have updated their mapping, showing that the northwest region of Kodyomivka has been captured by the Russian forces. So I have updated the map roughly according to what he have reported. Over at Andriivka on the 23rd, there was fighting reported by War Gonzo that the Wagner private military contractors are on the offensive again over at this region. You can see that there's no other icons, which means that it has been quiet prior to this attack on the 23rd. At the Kleshevka region, there is fighting reported on the 22nd and 23rd. The front line actually have moved. So I need to move the front line because actually it's like this. So the Russians have already captured the outskirt, the eastern outskirt of Kleshevka, and the Ukrainian forces is now defending within from the residential area. Outside here, it looks like the Russians have controlled this area. Reinforcement as a result are quickly transferred to Kleshevka to reinforce the town here. Moving to Bakhmut region, at least Bakhmut city region, fighting is reported at Opine on the 21st. On the 22nd, the Ukrainians actually launched a counter-attack over at Opine region. Did they? Let me see. Fighting continues. Ukrainian additional stronghold. So I think it should be wrong color. I maybe it's not a counter-offensive, it's a Russian attack. So the Russians continue to try to attack Opine. Over at the Bakhmut city itself, there is a Mi-8 getting shot down over Bakhmut on 21st. And there is fighting reported at Bakhmut all 3 days, all 21st to 23rd. There is a Ukrainian counter-offensive reported on the 23rd. After reinforcement have arrived at Bakhmut, where they first have special forces and paratroopers, basically airborne forces arriving at the village. And on the 23rd, reinforcement continue to arrive within Bakhmut city. And with this reinforcement, they are allowed to do the counter-offensive. Reported by War Gonzo, the counter-offensive is actually armored vehicle supported by it's a special forces and the airborne forces supported by armored vehicles. The southeastern part of Bakhmut city continues to be fought over. The Russians continue to push in the southeastern part of Bakhmut city, and currently the front line of the East Bakhmut has been updated according to the SITREP maps mapping yesterday. So instead of the this punch out along the Peshot-Travnevye lane, now the Russians are only concentrated only on the last 2 lanes or last 2 streets of the East Bakhmut. So the fighting is still within the city. The reports of the Ukrainians pushing the Russian forces, the Ukrainians pushing the Russian forces out of the city entirely, based on all my trusted sources, no one exactly says that. So that I don't think is true. Another interesting tidbit is that I think it's AZ military. Let me check. There is I think is, who is this? Joan Simiedo. So one of these pro-Russian sources, they actually call out the footage of Zelensky visiting Bakhmut. He says that the report, the video is actually not true. They say that the film is actually from Bucha. It's not really from Bakhmut. So they're not sure where this misinformation came out from, but this is what they say. I personally have not really read much into it, so I cannot verify either claims, whether Zelensky is there or if it's misinformation. So no, that's that. Near on the northwest part of Bakhmut, there is Bakhmut city. There is a Sukhoi 25 shot down over Orikhovo, Vasilivka. So it's here. So another Sukhoi 25. Usually Sukhoi 25 got shot down very near the front line, so there's a bit slightly far a bit, maybe 10-12 kilometers. Maybe after bombing on the way back, you got hit and maybe they crashed there. Maybe that might be the case. Further up north, Pihorodny ceased fighting again on the 23rd, reported by Ryba, the pro-Russian source. Otherwise, it has been pretty quiet on the northern part of Bakhmut city over the past 3 days. Over at the Soledar region, there is fighting reported at Soledar on the 21st, and the fighting moved to Bakhmutske on the 22nd and 23rd. The reinforcement is reported on the 22nd, with the 3rd Battalion of the 25th Airborne Brigade arriving at Soledar for the counter-offensive. So looks like a lot of airborne, Ukrainian airborne troops that doesn't go airborne is being thrown into the fray. Russian forces from Yakovlivka is now pushing towards Soledar. So fighting is reported on the eastern part of Soledar. I don't think they have reached Soledar just yet, but they are fighting on the eastern part. And the Russian forces here is actually the Wagner private military contractors. And Yakovlivka itself, there's fighting reported on the 21st and 22nd, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. I'm not sure if this is the same information. Is it correlated? Could this fighting near Yakovlivka is actually the same force that is actually trying to push towards Soledar? That might be the case. So just take note that these two pieces of information might be related. And most interesting of all, I think, is actually fighting reported at Rozdolivka. According to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry on the 23rd and today, 24th, 23rd, the 24th is actually reported by the Russian Defense Ministry, which is the report today. Both reports are actually from today. So most likely they are both describing the incidents from yesterday, that fighting is reported at Rozdolivka. The Russian Defense Ministry reported a bit more details. They say that the Russian troops destroyed a combined tactical group of foreign mercenaries as well as the units from the 10th Mountain Assault Brigade near Rozdolivka. So this is actually a major development, because now fighting have reached a new settlement in the front lines. Previously, the front line is at Yakovlivka, and occasionally we see fighting at Vasily. So this time around, we are finally seeing fighting along the Sivers line. So to me, this is the Sivers line. Sivers along the highway and all these roads that links up all these small village and settlements. This is the Sivers line to me, and this is the first time a settlement along the Sivers line has been reported fighting. So although it's still not at Rozdolivka just yet, but I think this is a significant development in my opinion. And this is corroborated by both sides, both defense ministries, Ukraine and Russia side. So this is definitely for sure. The Vasily reported fighting on the 21st, according to War Gonzo, but there's no other fighting reported there. So we are now already in Sivers front. This Sivers front. At the Sivers front, we have fighting reported at Berestove on the 21st. There is no fighting reported at Vimka this time round. So the front line is rather unclear. I'm not exactly sure what the front line actually looks like, tentatively. The front line at Spurny, however, changed. According to Surya maps, they say that the Ukrainian forces seems to have managed to capture the entire urban area of Spurny, whilst the Russians still holds the gas station. So looks like this is actually the gas station. So the Russians are still holding this position here, and the Ukrainians, however, it managed to take back most of the settlement of Spurny. Further up north at Verkhem-Okanyamske, on the east of Sivers city, there is fighting reported on the 21st, and that's it. Which means that the Russians are still unable to break through, so they gave up. And there is fighting reported at Bilohorivka on the 21st, according to War Gonzo. Similarly, there is no sustained offensive at Bilohorivka, just as per Verkhem-Okanyamske. So maybe the Russian forces is being redeployed somewhere else because of some other developments nearby. The Ukrainians are reportedly having pontoon operations at Serebryanka as well as at Dronivka. So this is actually this allows the Ukrainians to continue to reinforce the Ukrainian side in the fight within the Serebryanske forestry, and this have resulted in progress for the Ukrainians, where they have captured most of the southern part of the forestry. So fighting is reported on the 21st and 23rd, and the fighting is now getting nearer and nearer to Crimea. However, the Ukrainians did not manage to take Dibrova, with the Russians still on the offensive over at Dibrova on 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. So the Ukrainians are pushing in this direction towards Crimea, whereas the Russians are still holding position at Dibrova. So let's see how this develop. I believe that the push here by the Ukrainians within the forestry might have caused the pause of offensive over at Bilohorivka, and perhaps even at Verkhem-Okanyamske, for the forces to be redeployed up to defend Crimea region. So I believe this might be the case. Maybe. This is just my projection. We are now in the Crimea front. At the Crimea front, shelling reports by the Russian Defense Ministry has been reported at Terny on the 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. And 24th. 24th is today, and at Toske is also on the 21st and today, 24th. So the Russians continue to shell Ukrainian gathering of forces at Terny at Toske, while the Russians themselves are pushing towards Yampolivka. On the 22nd and 23rd, the Ukrainian Defense Ministry reported Russian offensive towards Yampolivka. So it might be actually to capture Yampolivka and cut the communication route between Terny and Torsky. So should the Russians able to capture Yampolivka, then reinforcement will be a bit more difficult to go towards Shevno-Popivka region. So this is actually quite interesting for the Russians to be attacking towards Yampolivka, because around a few weeks ago we are talking about Ukrainians attacking Shitlivka. So for the Russians to now be attacking Yampolivka suggests quite a bit of progress on the Russian side. However, we still have reports of fighting near Shevno-Popivka, so which means the Ukrainians are still holding a very strong defense around this area here. So the Russians continue to be attacking around Shevno-Popivka from the 21st all the way to 23rd. So the reports are from Ukrainian Defense Ministry on both days, 21st and 22nd, and the War Gonzo talking about this on the 23rd. The shelling continues across the whole front line, with some specific highlighted by the Russian Defense Ministry at Novolubivka as well as at Nevsky on the 23rd. And there is fighting reported north of Nevsky in this location called the Mevezye track. I'm not sure where is this place. I look at the Russian Defense Ministry mapping. It maps around this region between Nevsky and Makievka, so probably around the river region here. Fighting continues to be reported near Plashchonka from the 21st all the way to 23rd. So the 21st and 22nd is reported by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, with Ryba, the pro-Russian sources, talking about fighting at Ryba near Plashchonka on the 23rd. The Russians also is reportedly fighting for Makievka, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, on the 22nd, and on the 23rd, the information was repeated by War Gonzo. That's all from the Crimea front. The half an hour is a long time since we have a SITREP that goes beyond 3 hours. Beyond 30 minutes. Over at the Svetove front, shelling is reported at Serhievka, and there is fighting reported at Nadia. So Nadia, you might not see it here. Actually, you have to zoom in to see it. It's here, Nadia. So this report of fighting at Nadia is by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry on the 22nd. This continues to suggest that the Russians are the one on the offensive. As you can see, there's way more red icons than the blue ones. So the momentum is definitely on the Russian side. So the Russians are actually doing the push, with fighting reported at Andriivka on the 22nd and on the 23rd, and over at Stemakivka, the one of the key objectives by the Russian defense forces or Russian army continues to be fought over on the 21st and 22nd. There is shelling report at Novoselivsky on the 22nd, with the Russians attacking the village on the 21st and on the 22nd. So the 21st is reported by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. 22nd is reported by War Gonzo. There is fighting towards Berestove on the 22nd, according to War Gonzo as well. And shelling reports continues by the Russian Defense Ministry at Pishane on the 21st, Berestove on the 21st and 23rd, as well as at Krokmalny on the 23rd and today. So a lot of major shelling by the Russian side, with offensive not exactly at this area first. They are probably still trying to soften up the Ukrainian forces in this region before they do the major push. Like for example, here is 22nd, Novoselivsky. They are attacking and shelling at the same time. So I just talking nonsense here. Sorry. Then moving on, there is interesting report by Dogareva Anna, or Anna Dogareva. She mentioned that there is an attack towards Sofievka by the Ukrainian forces, and So this is mapped here. This is not reported by any other sources, only by her. So this is mapped in as we are trying to get all intel possible to try to see the major picture of what is actually happening. And there is shelling reported at Kaislivka over at the Kupiansk front region, and that's reported on the 23rd by the Russian Defense Ministry. This one I can delete already. And over nearer to Kupiansk city, there's shelling reported at Kusherivka on the 22nd and at Petropavlivka on the 21st and on the 24th, which is today. So the shelling is here, because this is actually probably some of the form-up area for operating base for the Ukrainian forces after going past Kupiansk. So any reinforcement coming from Kharkiv region going through Kupiansk across the river, move on, they will actually have to go to some forward operating base to prepare. Probably they will choose Kusherivka or Petropavlivka. So this seems to be the major target for the Russian artillery and air force. Further up north at the Vorishne region, there is fighting reported near Vorishne, according to Ryba, on the 21st, and there is also fighting near Tervezanka. Tervezanka is here, so there's fighting nearby, most probably just south of Vorishne, and there is also fighting reported towards Masyutivka. But all this information is on the 21st, and then the fighting stopped again. So which means the Ukrainian defense here is pretty strong, and the Russians just gave up. On the 22nd, there is recon forces from the Ukrainian side contacting the Russian forces near Vorishne, and that's about it. Which means the both sides is still pretty apprehensive about going all in. The Ukrainians don't seem to be wanting to do an offensive. According to the pro-Russian source analysis, they say that the Ukrainians are expecting a Russian offensive around this region, which is why they send out the recon to try to discover where are the Russian forces and what are the makeup of the Russian forces, perhaps, as they said, to uncover the plans. So not exactly sure how they are going to uncover the plan just by going out. But anyway, moving to the Kharkiv front. At the Kharkiv front, at the border region, there is fighting reported at Katni. So this is one of those or Kajni. Anyway, at Katni, there is fighting reported according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry on the 22nd. But on the 23rd, this is not reported. So this is just a one-off raid by the Russian side, just trying to distract the Ukrainian command. And thus, on the same day, there is also fighting reported at Vysoke. So Vysoke is actually at the border region with Russia, a very tiny village here. So there is also fighting reported at Vysoke, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. Similarly, it was not extended to 23rd. So this is just a one-off raid just to distract the Ukrainians. And that's it. That's everything. So thank you for watching. This is the Ukrainian war SITREP or summary for the day of 301 to 303 for the 21st to 23rd of December. Please press the like button and do subscribe. I know that most of you are not subscribed to this channel, DPA War channel. So please press the subscribe button. The SITREP and the summary will only now be posted on the DPA War channel. As we pass the 300 days, I think this is a perfect opportunity to start off from 301, day 301 to be posted and published from the DPA War channel. So it's a good way to close the chapter for the main channel, so that we can actually report on other stuff on the main channel. So do subscribe, and I'll see you in the next update.